new book, The Sword of Summer, and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, the Sword of Summer is about Norse mythology, the old stories of the Vikings, Thor, Loki, Odin, but it's set in modern-day Boston. It's about Magnus Chase, who is a 16-year-old homeless kid. He lives on the streets of Boston, but he finds out his life story is a whole lot more complicated than he realized. His dad is actually a Norse god. The 9 worlds of Viking mythology are still out there: dwarves, elves, fire giants, the whole shebang. And he's got to interact with all of them during the course of the book.
And what made you decide to switch gears from ancient Greek mythology to Norse mythology for this novel?
I love all kinds of mythology. I was a teacher for years. I taught social studies, history, English, and of course mythology plays into all of that. And so coming back to the Norse mythology really for me was returning home. I have loved the Norse stories since I was a kid. I mean, they're just so ridiculously funny and crude, and basically I think the Vikings invented middle school humor, which is kind of where I live, so it was a natural fit, and I'm really glad that I finally got to do a series based on these.
And as you mentioned, the main character, Magnus Chase, is the son of a Norse god. Can you tell us about your research into Norse mythology and what that experience was like?
Yeah, it's really interesting because with the Viking tales, the Vikings didn't write a lot of stuff down, so we don't have as many primary sources for their mythology as we do with Greece and Rome. But I did read the original lore. I read the old stories from Norway and Iceland, and I had to do a little bit of guesswork to kind of fill in the blanks about what the gods were like. It was fascinating stuff. Some of this stuff is just so crazy. It's hard to figure out how to even use it and make it have it make sense in a modern setting.
And what's next for Magnus in the trilogy?
Well, it's going to be the next book, The Hammer of Thor. As the title indicates, he has to be looking for a fairly famous missing weapon. Thor seems to lose his hammer a lot in Norse mythology. I don't know what's up with that. But once again, Magnus will be on the job, and that book will be out next fall.
Hello, everyone. Just give you a couple of quick clips on what my book is about. And you got to hear from the author. I think it's important to always hear from the author. It kind of gives the book a little something. So I always look for the author talking about it. What you're looking at right now, hopefully you can all see it, is my unit plan. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in on day 5 because this is what my lesson is going to be about. It's writing a story with runes, and for those of you that don't know, runes were the Viking way of writing. So, and if I scroll down a little bit, here is actually what's going to happen in my lesson. So the kids are going to we will have done a previous lesson on runes so that the kids can be familiar with them. And then they are actually going to choose runes and write a lesson or a story about them. And I will show you what runes are in just a second. Okay. So this is my lesson, what the kids will be doing. And these are runes. These are not all of the runes, but these are just the ones that we're going to use in the lesson. And scroll down. What they have to do is they have to pick 3 runes, and they will correspond with the beginning, middle, and end, and they have to use the keys on the runes. So the words at the bottom is what the first part of the story is going to be about the second part. So just choosing Fehi or Fehu is good advice. If they chose that first, the first part of their story would have to be about receiving good advice. If they chose Rytho for the second part of their story, it's journey. So the second part of their story would have to be about using that good advice to go on a journey. And then Uruz, if they chose that thirdly, they would have to, the story would end up with something about strength. And then the rest of it is just where they would write their story. And with it, they will use actual information about the runes, which I have it in 3 levels as soon as this comes up. So this is the advanced And as you can see, it's got quite a bit of information about each of the runes. And then there is an intermediate level where you're still getting information about the runes, but there's not quite as much. So it's trimmed down quite a bit. And then there is a beginner level, and this is just the absolute bare bones with very easy to follow language. And that is my lesson. So good luck, and I welcome any feedback that you could give me. Thank you.